Hey, welcome to our real estate world right here at California Realty Training. And listen, today's discussion is going to be about death on a property. Now listen, don't be fooled, right? Do not be fooled. Death on a property is essential. You have to know what it's all about. I'm going to go ahead and give you a few examples as to how it works. See you soon. All right, listen, before we go any further, go ahead and like the video, subscribe to the channel. Yeah, all right, good. And go ahead and hit that bell icon. We're gonna go ahead and start off with the basics. The basic law when it comes to death in real estate, particularly here in the state of California, because you'll be working here in the state of California, so the laws are different. The state of California, here we go. State of California has a 3-year rule when it comes to death. A 3-year rule. Now, basic information. A death on a property is considered a material fact. Death on a property is considered a material fact, which means if somebody dies on a property, it's a material defect. You got it? We have to disclose it. Now, the secret is that you must disclose death on the property if you're selling the property. If you're the listing agent, you must disclose this to any potential buyer if the death on the property occurred within 3 years of the buyer making that offer. Now, why is that such a big deal? Again, this is all basic information. It's a big deal because if a buyer knew somebody died in that property, they probably would have never made the offer. Think about that. There's a lot of people out there who believe in superstition. A lot of people out there who would say, there is no way in hell would I move into this house knowing somebody died in it. I understand. I'm one of those type of people. There is no way I would move into a house knowing somebody died in it. If you were to tell me, Mr. Rico, this house you made an offer on, which I love, it's got a pool, it's huge, it's got exact square footage that I've been looking for, great schools nearby, but someone's died in it last year. There was a death in it 2 years ago. There was a death in it last week. I would probably say, pull my offer, no longer interested. Not that I'm afraid of ghosts. Not that I'm afraid of ghosts, but I'm kind of afraid of ghosts. I believe in them and I don't want to be bothered when I'm sleeping at night. You with me? I do not want to be bothered when I'm sleeping at night. That's the last thing I want to happen. So it's important because a lot of people are superstitious and they believe in the paranormal, and we can't hide that fact. Now again, for California Civil Code section 1710.2, you must disclose any death on a property that's occurred within the last 3 years of when the buyer is making an offer on it. That's important. Now, let me give you an example. There's a few exceptions to the rules. There's some situations where you're gonna say, damn, I never thought this was gonna happen. What do? I was once in an escrow. Somebody made an offer. I represented the seller. Fantastic. Beautiful pool house. I remember the sellers were great clients of mine. Oh, it was incredible clients. Buyer came in to see the property. It was during summer. And what happens typically during summer? Buyers want a pool house. Got an offer immediately. Great. Everything's honky-dory. Everything's beautiful. My client called me and said, Rico, you're not going to believe what happened. I said, what do you got? He said, well, I had a visitor come on over to my property and spent the night and, well, they never woke up. I said, whoa, what do you mean? He goes, yeah, they expired here at the property. I said, son of a gun. I said, no way, son of a gun. So what do? The death happened after the offer. Now, do we disclose that? The death happened after the offer. The death happened while we're in escrow. What a predicament we're in. What do we do? What do you do? Now, technically, we don't have to disclose it because it's happened after the offer was given. What an exception to the rule. Now, of course, in theory now, the house, has been modified. It is no longer the same it was before, right? Just like having a new leaky roof. It's just like having a flood in the house that happened during escrow. You must disclose because the integrity of the property has been modified. The integrity of the property has been modified. Now, with this new information that somebody's died in the home, there's now a new death in the home. There's now a new variable, man. There's now a new variable in the home. So what we have to do now is decide. Do we disclose this to the buyer and buyer's agent, or do we hide it? Do we just let the escrow run its course? Now, you know the damn answer to that question. You know the damn answer. The right answer, of course, is disclose. So I did. I said, well, this is what we're going to have to do, Mr. Seller. I'm going to have to contact the buyer's agent and inform of this new variable, man. So I gather my thoughts, take a deep breath, dial my phone, and I contact the buyer's agent. And as the buyer's agent, got some news for you. Something just occurred at the property we're in escrow with. He said, Rico, what's going on? I said, well, there was an unexpected event. There was a death on the property last night. He said, Rico, thanks for calling me and disclosing this material fact, this now material defect. There's no information. I will go ahead and contact my buyers and see what they want to do. And he hung up. So I waited for the call, and the call finally returned. And as I look at the caller ID, I said, that's the buyer's agent. And before I picked up, I blessed my phone. I said, hope to God it's good news. Because I really want my seller to move on with his life. I want the buyer to go ahead and purchase the property that they've been dreaming of doing so. And hell, I want to earn a commission. Win-win-win for everybody. But it's all based on this one answer from the buyer. He has the right to say, no, I no longer want the house. I no longer want the house because you now gave me new information that's going to deter me from purchasing this property. So I picked up the phone and I said, yes, Mr. Buyer's Agent, what's going on? What's the final decision? And the buyer's agent responds, hey, Rico, the buyers have informed me that they're more afraid of the living than they are of the dead. He said, the buyers want to proceed with this escrow. Let's lock it up. I said, bada bing, bada boom, let's do it. However, you have to be careful. You want to make sure you document everything. Anytime there's a crucial change with the property, materially, you have to make certain it's all documented and give it to escrow. So what I want you to do, anytime there's a major change during the escrow period, I want you to get what's called an addendum. We have a great vlog on that. It's up here in the corner. An addendum. And I want you to put on there has been a death on the property on this date at this address. Buyer has been informed. Buyer accepts property's new condition. Put some kind of verbiage that expresses this. And have your seller sign it. And last but not least, have the buyer sign it. This is the buyer's way of saying, hey, it's okay. I accept this new information. Let's rock. This will protect you, your brokerage, and everybody else involved. You see that? Sometimes there's going to be exceptions to where the death didn't happen in the past. It happened during the escrow. And many times, it's death that's happened after the escrow. Here it comes. Example number 2. In this case, I had the buyer. And the buyer found a property that they were dying for. The buyer found a property that they were literally in tears because they wanted it so bad. And it was a hot market, so the chances of this particular buyer winning this property, getting her offer accepted, was very, very slim. We made a very strong offer accepted, hallelujah, we're in. She moved into this property. And the first people you meet when you go into your new property, of course, are the neighbors. And you go out and you meet the neighbors, how you doing? Everybody's honky-dory. The neighborhood feels right. Well, this one neighbor came over and said, hey, new homeowner here in our street, did they tell you what happened in that house you just purchased? Somebody recently just committed suicide in that hallway of the house you're living in. What the hell? She contacted us 2-3 days later, hollering and screaming. This is back in the day when we had answering machines. I pushed play on that answering machine, and all that came out was, Robert, how dare you? Rico, how dare you sell me this property? Rico, how dare you sell me this property? You're not gonna believe what happened. I just found out. Yada, yada, yada. Now, we discussed this earlier. A lot of people have superstition when it comes to death. Who would want to know that somebody committed suicide in the property? And it happened recently, so she had every right to be upset. Why didn't anybody disclose this to her? Ready? Here comes the lesson. What happened is this. This property was owned by a bank. It was a foreclosed home. It was a REO, real estate owned. It was a foreclosed property owned by the bank. Now the banks are exempt. The banks by law are exempt from disclosing anything about the house, any material defects on the house, anything. Now why? Well, because the bank never had lived in the property. And when the bank has never lived in the property, the bank knows nothing about the property. Now, per the disclosures received from the seller, from the bank, it actually will list on there, bank exempt, seller exempt, bank exempt from providing any information on the property because the bank doesn't know the property. So it's the buyer's duty to be diligent and go out there and prior to making an offer, prior to purchasing that property, gather as much information as they can to make themselves comfortable. It's called caveat emptor. Let the buyer beware. They have to do the best they can to gather as much information, even if it takes knocking on neighbors' doors and saying, listen, I'm thinking about making an offer next door. Is there anything you can share with me? Think about that. Wouldn't that be a great idea? So another example of death on a property, that isn't your typical California Civil Code section 1710.2. You must disclose if death has occurred the last 3 years prior to making an offer. This is death during an escrow, and death once you've purchased the property and the escrow has been complete. Hey, listen, these two examples allowed my wife and I to learn so much when it comes to the real estate world. In situations that you'll never expect, situations that you think, that'll never happen to me. When they occur, you'll be ready for it. We learned so much. So I hope these two examples help you out. All right, good. Hey, listen, again, do me a favor. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit that bell icon. It was a pleasure. Listen, can't wait for you to come back here again into our real estate world right here at California Realty Training. We are always here for you 100%. Hoping to God that real estate treats you well and you treat real estate well. Have a great day. See you next week.